Hello there, welcome to my channel. My name is Doug and I'm back with another fountain pen rescue video. It's a week after Halloween, but I'm still raising pens from the dead. But before we get into today's pen resurrection, I have a cool announcement to make. I just received my Diamine ink vent calendar for 2022. And each day from December 1st through Christmas Day, I'll be posting a very short video where I'll open the calendar and sample the ink for you. Something to look forward to. And on to the zombie pen. Today's pen resurrection is an ebonite Waterman that is around 100 years old. I purchased this pen for $20 at an antique store, and to be honest, it looked like it wasn't worth even $5. It clearly hadn't been used for decades and decades, and was part of an estate sale, sold as is. When you get something this clearly neglected, it can be just junk or treasure. I guess that's the excitement of the potential in finding a real treasure in a room full of junk. Join me as I remove 100 years of grime from this very old pen and discover if the pen will write. Right now. Today's fountain pen resurrection is an ebonite flat top lever filler, and what I'd like to do today is look at some of the history of this pen, show some before restoration photos, talk about the restoration process, show some size comparisons, and then some measurements, and then provide a writing sample. Here's what this Waterman looked like when I found it at a local antique shop. As I said in the introduction, it was part of an estate sale and looked awful. It didn't look like it was worth even $5. The lever moved, but it was crunchy, so the pen needed some resacking at a minimum. And the gold nib looked like it had seen better days and needed some realignment and straightening. Here's some video of when I brought it home from the antique shop. Here's a 1920s pen that I have not worked on yet. This is in the original condition that I got it, and this is very similar to how this one looked before I worked on it. They were both in this kind of condition with a lot of this white discoloration on it and a lot of old rust and that kind of thing. So I'm anxious to work on this pen. This pen needs a new sack because it's all crunchy in there, but I'm going to work on that. And there is the unrestored Waterman 14 karat gold nib, and it's got some issues with it, as you can see. So that's something to look forward to. And here is the pen after resacking and nib alignment. I've been doing some research, digging on the internet, looking for some idea of the model and year of this pen. A close-up of the lever on this pen shows an engraving that says Pat Oct 1718. Now that isn't a date of manufacture, but it does tell us the pen is no older than 1918. The clip that was on the pen for what looks like decades is not the original to the pen. With the clip removed, you can see the two holes in the cap where the clip was affixed. The original clip may have been similar to this one with the round ball. Given this is a flat top, black hard rubber Waterman ideal nib fountain pen, I suspect it probably dates between 1925 and 1930. Everyone began rounding the ends of their pens in reaction to Schaefer's streamlined celluloid balance of 1930. Before we look at this pen more closely, here's some video I shot while resacking the pen. So I'm going to attempt to resack this Waterman black hard rubber pen and remove the cap. Just to describe how I cleaned this up, I used a lot of Meguiar's Swirl Remover number 2, which is a very fine abrasive polish on all of the black parts of the pen, and you can see that I got it a lot better than it was, but it's still discolored there, and you can see some discoloration still on the section. And of course I got a chunk out of the ebonite in the bottom, but it's a lot better than it was. And I used my polish cloth, my jeweler's polish cloth, on the nib to get it all shiny. The section, I soaked it and it actually came off fairly well, and there was a lot of gunk and old shellac and old sack material on that end of that section, So I scraped all that off with an X-Acto knife and soaked the section quite a long time to loosen up any old ink, and cleaned out the barrel because there were some remnants of sack inside there. So I got that cleaned out pretty well, and the lever filler is in pretty good shape. You can see that patented lever with the I-beam that hooks into the pressure bar right there, and it works really nicely, so I didn't have to do anything to that. But in order to get the feed and nib out of that section, I sort of improvised. This is a partial 3D print of one of my Ink Buddy 48 ink sample trays. You can see it's got part of the Ink Buddy on there. And I put that down, and a socket wrench fits right into there. Socket wrench socket. I put it in one of those holes like that, and then got myself a drill size gauge that fit over top of that and allowed the nib to go down in through but hold on to the section. And then I have an Allen wrench that fits down inside the nozzle of that section really quite nicely, and I fit the whole thing together. I actually used a little bit of double-sided tape to hold the whole thing together. And there we go. I found the right size. And then I just used my soft-headed hammer to tap on the top. And through careful tapping, the whole thing came apart. And there's the feed. And I polished that up with some Meguiar's as well. All over the place. You can see it says Waterman's Made in Canada on it. And there's that nib. And that polished up really, really nicely on both sides. Then it was just a matter of putting the nib and the feed back into the section again, giving it a good push like that. And now all we need to do is sack it up. So this is a number 15 sack, which I thought would fit in there very nicely. It's a very slim pen, so the 15 should work. And all I have to do is measure off how much of that sack needs to go down there, almost the end, and figure out where it will be when the section is on the pen, and then just mark that with my thumb. So that's where it needs to be cut. Keep my thumb on that, take my shears, and snip it off. And we'll put some shellac on that section right there, on the nozzle of the section. There we go. There's that spreader again. There we go. Yeah, it slides around really nice and easily. Just give it a turn, make sure it's straight, and then we'll let that sit and dry. It's Halloween night, so I'll go shell out, and then we'll give it a try putting it in the barrel tomorrow. And here we are back again after 24 hours. Let this shellac dry. I put a stripe of shellac around the outside of it just to seal that little seam right there from leaking. Now we have to insert the sack into the barrel, so we're going to get out some talc and just dredge the sack in some talc just to make it slide nicely. And we're going to line it up with the lever and give it a good push. Now that's pretty tight in there. I don't think that's going to move, so I'm not sure whether I need to shellac that barrel shut or not. I'd rather not. So now all we have to do is ink it up. This pen is made of black hard rubber, also known by the trade name ebonite. It isn't a big pen, and it's about 5 millimeters shorter than a Pilot Metropolitan. but it is longer than the Metro when it's posted. It is a lever-filled flat top and has what Waterman called a number 2 14-karat gold nib. Typical of black hard rubber pens of the 1920s, it is cylindrical in shape with a flat top and bottom. The clip would have been mounted right here, and there is a single gold band on the cap. The top finial is flat with a single step. The bottom finial is also flat and is stamped with 92. And as far as I can tell, the 92 doesn't relate to anything related to Waterman's model numbers or numbering system. It could be a number unique to the Canadian Waterman factory. I suspect the 9 relates to the model, the body type, and the 2 relates to the nib size. The cap unscrews with slightly less than 1 turn to reveal the concave-shaped ebonite section, 14-karat gold nib, and ebonite feed. Let's get a closer look at this nib. I'm delighted how beautifully this nib is polished up. It has a heart-shaped breather hole, Waterman's, Ideal, Canada, and a number 2. And the side of the nib has an engraving that says FDW, which are the initials of Frank D. Waterman, who was founder Louis Waterman's nephew and took over the company when Louis died in 1903. And there is the ebonite feed. It polished up nicely too. The pen is very slim in the hand and just long enough unposted to write with comfortably. But the cap posts deeply and securely and makes the pen longer and better balanced. Now let's look at some size comparisons. And here is the 1920s Waterman black hard rubber fountain pen with a 1920s Schaefer black hard rubber lever filler, a 1925 Wall 641A all metal, a 1931 Parker Duofold Jr., and a 1930s Waterman Starlet. Let's look at them posted. And here they are posted. They are all 14-karat gold nibs, and you can see that the Waterman 1920s is just as long as the Wall Eversharp all-metal pen. Now let's look at them unposted. And here they are unposted. And you can see that the Waterman is not the shortest in the bunch unposted, but they're all relatively the same girth. And given the period, pens were typically fairly slim. Now let's look at some measurements, and I'll be back with a writing sample. So first I'm going to ink the pen up. For the first time, new sack, put the nib down in the ink, pull on the lever, let it go, do it again. I hear some bubbles. Ooh, that's all good. You hear bubbles like that, that's good. And we're back with the writing portion of the review. This is Clairefontaine 90 GSM paper, and this is the Waterman's what should we call it? 1920s black hard rubber. And it has a number 2 size 14-karat gold nib. And let's check the wetness. This is very, very wet. And of course, being a vintage gold nib, it's very, very flexible. Lots of line variation. And the ink is Waterman's Serenity Blue. Now you can probably hear that there's lots of scratch in this going that direction. That's because these tines are still slightly misaligned. I've been working on them, but I don't know whether you can tell in the video or not. The one tine has a slight bend in it. Maybe it's not that side. Maybe it's that side. Can't tell on my camera. But one of them has a slight bend. That means it's been dropped or something like that. So I'm still working on it to get them so that they're perfectly together. As you can see, it's an inky process.
What's that on your hand, Basil?
What? Oh, that's some stuff in the cupboard, dear. Something I knocked over.
But I'll eventually get that so it's writing without that misalignment and smoothly, so I can actually smooth it some more. So actually not too bad right now. A very vintage feeling pen. And the line this pen makes goes from 0.3 millimeters with no pressure, which is a Western triple extra fine, or a Japanese extra fine. And when you really give it a push like that, it gets up to 1.1 millimeters, which is a Western triple broad, or a Japanese broad off the charts. And for our quote: and for some reverse writing, again, these kinds of pens are not designed for reverse writing, but it actually does it. It's fairly dry and scratchy. And for some quick writing, it's actually very, very juicy. So what are my thoughts about this fountain pen? I got these two pens at the same antique shop for $20 each. I think finding a diamond in the rough is an awesome feeling.
I've got the sword of Azeroth! There is no more Sheldon! I am the sword master!
But the process of stripping 100 years of dirt and grime away to discover two beautiful pens is the best part of the experience. Getting them both to write just makes the experience complete. I had no guarantee that either of these pens would write at all, and especially for the Waterman, because it was in such awful shape with some horribly twisted tines on that gold nib. I really didn't expect it to write well at all. It took some patience to get the feed and the nib out so I could work on the nib. Lots of soaking, followed by some very careful tapping, and a ton of patience is what finally got that nib and feed free. I don't think I've got it back as far as it originally was, but it writes and it fits in the cap, so that spells success for me.
Smells like victory.
After all this, I still don't know what model this is. If any of you vintage pen experts out there have any suggestions, please leave a comment below. It would be much appreciated. And there you have it. Stay tuned to my channel for more Pen Resurrection Sundays.
Is that it?
No, there's more.
Because I have quite a few old Watermans, some Schaeffers, and a few Parkers to put on the slab and inject with some lightning to see if I can jumpstart them back into existence.
So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation.
If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to ring that bell to get instant notifications whenever a new video is posted. And please look in the description for a link to Goldspot pens, as I'm now an affiliate of the online store, and when you shop at Goldspot using my link, you'll be supporting my channel as well at no extra charge to you. You can also join as a member of my channel for only 99 cents a month, and I guarantee I'll answer your comments in the comment section, and you'll get cool emojis, badges, and sneak peek unboxing videos as well. And that just leaves it for me to say thank you for watching, and that's all she wrote.
I made this.